Hi, Claire here, and today I'm going to help you become more productive with Google Cloud with the help of AI. So today you're going to watch me create a new feature for our website. I'm going to get AI to help us with the planning, the documentation, the coding, and the test writing. And once we're done, I'll show you how to leverage AI for operating your website, getting easy analytics data. Now, when I was thinking of putting this video together, my main worry is about how fast it would get out of date. We've seen just how rapidly the innovation around AI is accelerating. But I think at the end of the day, what we can do right now is pretty incredible. And this video will just mark a milestone in that evolution of how we harness the power of AI to make us more productive. So my goal for this video is to show you how you can work more productively with the assistance of AI and how Google's really innovating in this space by integrating generative AI into so many of its products. And basically the idea of today's demo is to show you end-to-end how your teams can work faster. So focusing on the part of their jobs they enjoy the most, like being creative and solving interesting problems while getting AI to help them through the tedious parts and the toil. As I said in the beginning, I'll show you how to leverage generative AI in design, coding, testing. Then we're going to deploy our new feature, and I'll show you how you can continue to use generative AI in the operations, how it helps you with analytics. Now, before I jump into the demo, I just want to give you a brief background into Gemini, which was formerly Duet AI, and give you a bit of background into what generative AI is, just so we can have that background as to where Gemini fits in. Of course, if you know all this and you want to skip straight to the demo, check the timeline in the description to skip ahead. So in a nutshell, generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that helps humans create content like text and video and images, and it does this by learning the patterns and the relationships in existing data, and then using that knowledge to generate new original content. So I generated these amazing artistic images that you see here just by giving Gemini the prompt, think of something crazy that generative AI could do that humans can't, and make an image. And image and video generation is just one small application of what generative AI can do. So think about content creation, so copywriting. You will see huge improvements in the complexity of chatbots and virtual assistants, that they're able to handle now with generative AI. We're also seeing the productivity enhancements that come with code generation, writing assistance, and so the list goes on. But at the end of the day, the point of this new technology is it's transforming how people do things. It's taking those tedious parts out of the work we do, and therefore it's boosting your creativity, your productivity, your collaboration. So at the end of 2023, Google introduced Gemini, which is one of the most capable and general models yet, with state-of-the-art performance across many leading benchmarks. And the reason this is such an important milestone is because whereas previous models would have been built for a specific type of information, like text or code or images, Gemini was built from the ground up to be multimodal. And the importance of this is that it can generalize and seamlessly understand and operate across and combine different types of information, including text and code and audio and image and video. And so this is revolutionary, and it represents one of the biggest science and engineering efforts that Google has undertaken as a company. And so now Google has positioned a lot more under the Gemini brand because Gemini can do pretty much everything. And what's even more impressive is that it'll be able to run on anything, from data centers all the way down to mobile devices. Right, so generative AI is going to be disruptive, and if you look at this McKinsey research report, it says that the current generative AI and other technologies have the potential to automate work activities that absorb 60 to 70% of employees' time today. Now, previously, they'd estimated that technology had the potential to automate half of the time employees spend working. But because of generative AI's increased ability to understand natural language, that now adds another 25% of work activities that can be automated. And in this demo, you're going to see how you can leverage Gemini's understanding of natural language to help you and your team be more productive in your day-to-day activities. So let's look at Gemini in Workspace, because we'll touch on this in the demo. So Gemini in Workspace can be used in Docs and Gmail and Slides and Sheets and other products that are part of the Workspace offering. So for instance, in Google Docs and Gmail, you can use Gemini to help me write and refine business documents and emails. You can use Gemini in Google Slides to create custom images. It can analyze spreadsheets, and Gemini in Google Meet lets you create your own background images. It can summarize meetings. And for those of you that complain about having too many meetings, Gemini can even attend meetings on your behalf. And then you also have Gemini in Google Cloud, which is your AI companion. It's designed to empower all cloud users. So regardless of experience level, you're going to be able to navigate the platform with ease. Google Cloud's vast resources can be a little bit overwhelming for newcomers, but Gemini eliminates this barrier with its in-depth knowledge. It allows you to ask questions about anything from data querying to cost optimization. And I'm especially excited about the general availability of Gemini for developers and Gemini for security operations. These tools assist in code writing, app development, testing, deployment, scaling, monitoring, and even accelerate cybersecurity threat resolution. And so AI-powered tools like Gemini boost your productivity. They're freeing you to focus on your innovation and your creativity while delegating all those tedious tasks to your AI assistant. But enough talk, let me show you how. In this demo, I'm going to show you how Gemini helps you through the entire software development lifecycle end to end. So we start our story with a demo website for our fictitious company, Symbol Superstore. And they've been going through a digital transformation. And now they host their website on Google Cloud and their teams use Workspace. And today the inventory team has been tasked with adding a new feature to return the list of the latest products so they can be displayed on a new web page. Right, so the product lead Richard has emailed my engineering team asking for this new feature. And not only that, but he wants the prototype done by the end of the week. And he also wants a chance to show the impact at the monthly business review. Now, the engineering team want to get to work right away. They don't want to sit drafting the perfect response. So I'm going to rely on Gemini in Gmail to format my very simple message. I'm going to use the Help Me Write feature. And I'm just going to say, thanks, Richard. We'll get to work. And let's see what Gemini comes up with. Right, so saying, hi, Richard, thanks for the follow-up. We'll get to work on the prototype and keep you updated on our progress. Right, so very simple example, but I think, if you think about the amount of time that's spent every day thinking about how to appropriately word emails, it all adds up. We can just insert it, and there's our response. So we immediately get to brainstorming the architecture, no magic here, just good old whiteboard. And we have this new feature, we're adding this new products page, which we're hosting on cloud storage. The data comes from our inventory API running on Cloud Run. And so this is where we're going to need to add our new products endpoint. And then we fetch our data from the Firestore database. And then we go and we draw it up a little bit more neatly with our favorite diagramming tool. Recently, Google released a public architecture diagramming tool, just out of interest. It looks like this. It's got some very nice reference architectures, so we could just drag across the microservices. If you want to add some other compute, let's say we could drag in Cloud Run. And what's really nice about this is if we go and actually set this up, put in proper locations, name projects, then we can actually get this diagram to generate the Terraform scripts for us. So this is really useful. Let's explore how we can use Gemini to assist us with the solutions design. I'm sure many of you use Gemini, formerly known as Bard, but just to put it into a bit of context, so Gemini is Google's publicly available large language model. It can help you generate text and translate languages, write different kinds of creative content, answer your question in a formative way, just to name a few of the features. But today I'm going to see how it can help us create a solution design for our new feature we wanted to build. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here, we're going to upload our architecture diagram. And I'm going to give it a little bit of context. I'm going to say I'm building this get new products endpoint for the inventory API shown in this diagram below. This endpoint will fetch recent products on the Firestore database. Are there any risks with this architecture? And so Gemini's come back and it's given us some interesting points like the security. So it's saying the cloud Firestore database is a NoSQL database. It does not have built-in access control. It's telling you how to mitigate that risk. It's talking about costs. It's talking about scalability. And it's given us some additional thoughts. So what's really amazing here is that Gemini has been able to understand the context of the image. It's been able to identify Firestore and Cloud Run and its relationship to the proposed architecture. And so this highlights, even in these early days of Gen AI, how good these models are becoming at understanding and processing different types of data simultaneously. And in this case, it's able to see the image, it's also able to read the description, and then it's able to answer questions about both. So what I'm going to do is, this is really useful information, so I'm just going to copy this into a document so we can keep it. Of course, documentation for many reasons is important, but it's often neglected because of the time it takes. So let's use Gemini to generate a design document outline for us. We're going to use Gemini and Workspace's Help Me Write feature to help outline the design feature. And we're just going to give it the prompt, outline a design document for an API endpoint called Get New Products. This endpoint will be implemented in TypeScript with Express.js. It will get a list of products from a Firestore database that have been created in the last 7 days. And I've asked it to include endpoint details, request response examples, etc. And so you'll see it's come back with the description. It's given us the response body. It's given us all the properties we expect. It's given us examples of the request and response. So the request is a get endpoint. It's given us that endpoint. And it's outlined the response and the response body. And then it's also given us some information on error handling and some other considerations. So definitely a time saver for the engineering teams who often find this type of documentation very tedious to generate. Meanwhile, in the background, the UX team has been mocking up the web page and they've got a design approved for the engineering team to start coding. And so we're ready to start coding our new feature. Now, this portion of the demo is available on GitHub for you to experiment with yourself. Just check out the description for the link. It's got all the code. There's a very nice diagram to help you visualize the architecture and a full set of instructions. So I have this project up and running. So this is what my website looks like. And if I click on new arrivals, this is the mocked up page that we're going to be coding with the assistance of Gemini today. So in this demo, our engineering team is using Cloud Workstations, which is Google's IDE in the cloud. If you're looking for a cloud-based developer environment, perhaps because you have security concerns with your developers storing code locally, the challenges of securing local workstations, or because you're finding it challenging and costly to onboard new engineers to a project. And of course, this has all been recently accelerated by the increase in remote work, as well as the high costs of providing high-end notebooks or desktops, and maybe experiencing friction when working with large repos or having issues due to slow builds. Then it's definitely worth having a look at Cloud Workstations. It's going to accelerate your onboarding to projects. It fixes that sort of works on my machine problem. There's no need for downtime when switching hardware. All your developers get the latest versions and patches, so it's more consistent and secure. Now, this is not going to be a tour of workstations, but we are going to be using workstations for our coding, and so hopefully you'll get a little bit of a feel for it. So I've already launched a workstation, which looks like this. So you can see it's already up and running. And this is where we're going to be doing all our coding. So what we want to do first is leverage Gemini's code completion functionality to build out our API call. Let's have a quick look at the code that we have. So we have an Express server. We have a few endpoints to do health checks, get a list of all the products, get the product by ID. And the endpoint that we're going to build out now is the new products endpoint. So let's just remove all these comments here. So we're just going to prompt Gemini using this comment. So we're going to say get new products from the Firestore added less than 7 days ago and the quantity is greater than 0, meaning it's in stock. And you'll see very quickly Gemini is generating the code for us. If you want to, we can tab through the different options. And if we're happy with the code it's produced, we tab to insert it. Right, so I think we can actually generate a little bit more code than that. I'm actually going to get it to generate a nice big chunk for us. And so you can see here, it's adding a bit more code. It's getting all the products and adding it to an array. And this looks good, so I'm going to tab this. Just get rid of that. Right, and you'll notice these little brown squiggles. So basically this is just giving you some information about the licensing. So in order to keep you compliant and make sure that you are including any licensing in your code, this is a very nice feature to have in line. Right, so we're happy with this. So let's see if we can spin this up. Right, and so you'll see we have our API running now on port 8000. So what I'm going to do is just open up a new terminal and we're just going to curl this endpoint just to call it and make sure that it's actually working. Now, you'll see that something's gone wrong. So let's take a look back in our first tab. Okay, and we see that here you can see the error, it's not compiling. And it says here, cannot have inequality filters on multiple properties, quantity and timestamp. Now, of course, bugs are always frustrating. We want to get this fixed as fast as possible. So I'm going to use Gemini. And so I'm going to say I am querying Firestore and getting this error. And I'll copy the error in. And I'm going to ask her what it means. What does it mean? Right, and we can see here that Gemini responds to say that this query is invalid because it uses 2 inequality filters. Right, and Firestore cannot efficiently execute the query with multiple inequality filters. And so this is what we need to fix. So it's pointing basically to the fact that over here we have 2 inequality filters, we've got the quantity, and we have timestamp. We need to move one of these. So I'm going to take the quantity out and I'm just going to move it down here. So if the quantity is greater than 0, then we push it onto the array. Okay, so let's build this again. Let's see if this works. Right, so it's running again. Let's call the endpoint. Right, and so you can see now we're getting our JSON array correctly with all the products that we need. And of course, there are a few benefits for us doing this debugging in Gemini, in Google. One of those is because you're getting Google Cloud focused guidance. So that's particularly useful when you're using Google products. Second of all, you're not having to context switch. You're not having to go outside of your IDE, so perhaps to Stack Overflow to get the answer. And so we leverage in Gemini to debug and fix these errors as quickly and efficiently as possible. Now, in my experience, one of the first things that developers neglect when they're on a tight deadline is testing, and especially if there isn't a strong culture of test-driven development. And sometimes adding tests can seem a bit tedious. So let's very quickly check. I have some existing tests, but let's see if we can get Gemini to help us with adding a few more. So we have 2. We've got the health check. We're checking just that our default endpoint returning a 200 status. Let's just check these tests are running before we go any further. Right, and so you'll see we have a total of 4 tests passing. There are actually 2 test suites. The reason for that is because we are building our code into this folder. It's copying the test file in here as well. So all our tests double up. We have 4 passing tests. Right, so let's write our new test and let's see if Gemini can help us save some time in writing it. So basically, I'm just going to ask in natural language. Let's go back into Gemini. And I'm going to ask it to help me write an Express.js test using jest in TypeScript for the get new products handler in the index.txt file. And it should check the response codes 200, and the list of new products has a length of 8. And so you'll see it's given us some code. So all I'm going to do is click into here. I'm going to insert it into the current file. Let's just get rid of all the imports. Right, so it's given us 2 tests. We're checking the get new products returns 200, and we are checking that the length that is returned is 8. Perfect, so let's just run this test again. And what you're going to notice is the more information you provide to the AI, the better the results it gives you back. And what's really useful is that Gemini can use your open code files to tailor your code suggestions for you. Right, and so you'll see now we had 4 tests running, we now have 8 tests passing. So we've added 2 more and it's doubling up. So our code is now working. So we've created our new code, we've debugged our code, we have added tests for our code. All we have to do now is just deploy our new feature. And so in this demo, we have our deployment set up on Terraform, which makes it very easy to manage and provision our infrastructure resources using descriptive code rather than manual configurations. We're going to give it a minute. Right, so our site has been deployed successfully. Let's take a look at the changes. So into our new arrivals, and you can see it's updated to show our new products with the new images, all the details there that it's loaded up for us. Right, so This is amazing. In just a few minutes, we've documented, coded, debugged, tested, deployed our new feature. So now we need to make sure the service is running smoothly, but we don't necessarily know where to find the logs. So I'm going to ask Gemini, back in our Cloud Console here, and I'm going to ask it, just using natural language, how can I view the Cloud Run logs for the service called inventory? Right, and it's telling me to go to the Cloud Run page, to click on the service called inventory, click on the logs, and then we're going to see the logs for the service. So let's do that. So we're going to go to Cloud Run, click on the service called inventory, click on the logs. Right, and now you'll see all the logs. It's been updating products. We can have a look at one of these. I'm going to open it in the Logs Explorer. And the reason I'm doing is that we actually have a very nice feature here. So let's open up Coffee Beans. So we have something called Explain This Log Entry. And so basically what Gemini is doing here is giving you a very nice summary of the log in just natural language. So it's saying the product name Coffee Beans was added or updated in the Firestore database. It's telling us which Cloud Run revision it happened on, when the event occurred, and when it was logged. And so we can do this for any one of our logs. Let's see, this was running on port 8000. Right, so log entries from the Superstore API Inventory API. API is running on port 8000. It's running in the US Central region. It's running in the inventory service. Gives us a lot of information. Now this is really useful because sometimes you have to really click into the logs to get information, and this is just giving us a really nice quick summary in natural language of exactly what this log means. So very nice and useful. Now, what about security? So let's take a look at the event threat detection. So if we just search for security, and this is a built-in service for the Security Command Center premium tier that monitors your organization's cloud logging and Google Workspace logging streams, and it detects threats in near real time. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go into the findings, and you can see it's picking up some logs with high severity. Now the easiest way to find out why there's a high severity is to go and look at the summary for it. And you'll see that we now have this AI generated summary in natural language again, which is just telling us that this bucket is public, it can be accessed by anyone on the internet. And so the summary explains why this is a risk. It tells you how to fix this particular finding. But at the end of the day, this information allows you to understand and fix the problem very quickly, and speed in this kind of situation is critical. So having done all this work, what we'd like to know now is what the impact has been. Okay, so we can start by using Gemini in Google Sheets, and we're going to ask it to help us generate a work tracker. So we can use this Help Me Organize feature. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to create a business analytics plan to analyze the sales impact of the new products page in our Symbol Superstore. Right, so it's generated some metrics for us: sales, traffic, conversion rates. It's given us some goals. It's given us targets, timeframes, and some notes about these analytics that we would like to do. If we're happy with this, we just click Insert. And so maybe you want to add some more goals, maybe you want to change some of the existing ones, but very often just getting started takes the most time. And so you can see how quickly we now have this really good base to work from. So next we can dive a little deeper into the sales data with BigQuery. So I'm going to go back into our Cloud Console. We're going to go to BigQuery. So BigQuery is a fully managed cloud data warehouse that lets businesses analyze massive data sets using SQL queries without managing the infrastructure. So it's scalable, it's fast, it's cost effective, making it a powerful tool for data analytics. And so let's say our SQL savvy business analyst has given us this query. And we're going to run this. And you can see it's given us something called total August for the 5th. Now, we don't actually know exactly what this query does, so we can actually ask Gemini what it does. So we copy this, and we open up Gemini, and we give it the prompt, and we can just say, explain this query, and then we can pop it in here. Right, and so it's telling us the following query will calculate the total sales for August the 5th, which is very nice, and it just tells us all about the query, how it does this. So this is very nice, but now we're thinking, well, actually be quite interesting to know how August the 5th sales compare with maybe August the 19th. So we can ask Gemini over here, can you update this query to include the sales for August 19th? And of course, this is something that's really easy for Gemini, so it's given us some code. Let's copy this. Let's pop it in. Looks pretty good. Let's run it. Right, and so now you can see our total sales side by side, August the 5th versus August the 19th, which is very nice. So again, this makes it very quick and easy to understand through natural language, but it's also giving it broad accessibility to audiences that before now might have struggled to get value from more specialized cloud products. Now the next thing we can do is we want to do some more analysis, so we're going to go to a product called Spanner. Now, Cloud Spanner is a fully managed, highly scalable and globally distributed database service offered by Google Cloud. It can handle massive workloads, so Google uses it internally for things like photos and mail. It's suitable for both relational and non-relational workloads, and it includes two dialects, so you can use Google SQL or PostgreSQL, so that makes it very familiar for developers. It's very easy to integrate with existing applications. I'm going to just go to Spanner Studio. Now with Gemini, we don't even need to write the SQL query because you can just describe it in natural language. So if I type a comment and I just say get all sales, and I may be really lazy, from table, and it gives me the query, select all from transactions, tab to accept, and we can run that. And so you can see here it's giving us a list of all the transactions. There are 100 of them, but maybe that wasn't that useful, so let's ask it to get all the sales from the last 2 weeks. Right, query looks fine, interval 2 weeks. Let's tab to accept and run. And so you'll see here it's giving us a limited result set of just the sales from the last 2 weeks. Right, so it's really writing all these queries for us, and this gets us close to answering our question about the sales impact of our new feature. So we've gathered our data, we've done the analytics, now we want to present this information in a visually appealing slideshow to the business stakeholders. So let's go into slides, and what we're going to do in this is we're going to ask Gemini in Google Slides to help me visualize. So what I'm going to do is, let's say to make this slideshow look a bit more interesting, I could ask it for a red and gold cartoon style picture of happy grocery store shoppers. And you can see it brings up a whole selection of images that you can choose from. So I quite like this one, so I'm going to insert it. And that's it. So in conclusion, I think we've seen the whole end-to-end development lifecycle. This was a very quick run through of the available functionality, but hopefully you're able to see just how much value AI assistants can add to your day-to-day activities. Remember, generative AI is still in its infancy, and this technology and type of assistance is really just going to get better. So I look forward to sharing more exciting innovations with you as time goes on. Cheers.